What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to talk a little bit about Arsenal and their precarious position now. The current top four going into next year, they're in a strong spot. Liverpool, Manchester City, even if those two don't strengthen, they're going to be in a good spot. Chelsea, who look like they are going to really strengthen, are really going to cause problems in the Premier League. You feel they're in a good spot. And then Manchester United haven't really done too much yet, but you feel if they do, they're put themselves in a good spot. So that leaves, teams outside the top four, Arsenal, Tottenham, Wolves, trying to fight and work their way into that spot with a pretty big gap to overcome. Now, this video is mostly about Arsenal slowly, I don't want to say fading because, it's a difficult spot. You don't want to go out and say a team is done in terms of challenging at the top. You don't want to call them the next Leeds or anything like that. You don't want to do things like that. You don't want to say that and, put that out there. It's not exactly what this is about. But Arsenal haven't made a Champions League since 2015-2016 year. They finished second that year, but even that was a down year for everybody. They finished on 71 points, and most years you need, 70, 71, 72, 73 to get into the top four. But that was one of those down years. Leicester took advantage, and Arsenal finished second on 71 points. Since then, next year, finished fifth, sixth, fifth, and this year eighth, 10 points off of fourth. It went, the two times they finished fifth, it was 1 point off, and then the year they finished sixth, it was 12 points off of fourth. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot, and with the virus currently impacting football finances as it were, you worry for a lot of these teams. Most of the teams who are spending money right now are teams who are owned by people who, know how to make money during a pandemic like this. Chelsea with their billionaire. City have, their money as well. It's those teams who are the ones spending money. Everyone else is kind of tiptoeing around signings and moving players out to bring players in. Arsenal are going to, by the time this video goes out today, I believe they would have at least been close to finishing the signing of Gabriel for 30 million euros-ish. And then Willian came in for free. That's about it. I really don't expect Arsenal to bring in a ton of players here. Maybe Ceballos back on loan. I don't expect them to spend a ton of money. The finances don't seem very good over there. And it's not like, everyone else is obviously struggling, but they laid off like 56 people the other day. Just made their jobs non-essential. It's tough. They're going to be paying Aubameyang quite a bit of money. And this, for me, is the moment in time that they have to get signings right. Arteta has to be the right man. We'll see. He's obviously got a good tactical mind, Arteta. He knows how to set teams up, or he knows how to set his team up against the bigger teams. It's the smaller teams where they have to play football that they kind of struggle against. The big teams where they sit back and soak up pressure. They did it against Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. They sat back and really soaked up pressure, hit on the break. You're not going to be able to do that with a lot of, smaller teams. You're going to have to be able to play, and that'll be their test next year. So we'll see. I don't expect them to finish in the top four. So that's going to put some strain here. There is going to be a little bit of strain about to come out of this team, especially if they don't reach the Champions League. Aubameyang is going to get a load of money. He's also 31, I think. He's getting up there. Willian is up there, of course, though he came in for free, but he's on a decent wage, £120,000, I believe it was, something around that area. I heard rumors around 220,000. I don't particularly to believe those. I believe more of the Arsenal sources that they're around 120-ish. But there is some older players here, some players that aren't very good. I don't particularly think. I think this team needed a big rebuild, especially at the back, which they seem to be doing pretty well. We'll see with Saliba and Gabriel, of course. Gabriel is someone who a lot of teams were looking at, so we'll see how he fits in. Saliba may need a little bit of time. But the other ones, they're just not very good. Tierney, of course, injured and kind of in and out of the team. So we'll see on that. I think they need to switch it right back as well. Leno makes a few mistakes as well. So the midfield isn't that great. I believe all the areas that needed fixing still need fixing, except maybe center back. Midfield needs players, just better players. I mean, the midfield's a mess. Right back, I think, could use a refreshing face. Whether Bellerin's a good right back and everything, but that was one of those players I'd move on and bring in someone else for. I think that just needs a fresh face. Maitland-Niles looks like he's leaving. Maybe someone in to come push Bellerin, whatever it may be. But midfield definitely needs some more. I don't think this team is complete enough to go at the top four, which, as I said, will put it in this position where they become just perennial Europa League kind of team. That's what this is about. I just don't see it, especially this year. I don't see it this year. I don't think they get top four. They're going to have to buy really well, number one, and number two, they're going to have to buy cheap. It looks like they are going to have to buy cheap, and it's going to put them in a lot of trouble. They're going to need to do so well scouting. You're going to be near perfect scouting. You have to be. You're going to have to be near perfect scouting and buying. You're going to have to be near perfect. I just think there's too much going against Arsenal in terms of the squad, in terms of other teams' squads. I mean, I think Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City, as we said, I don't think they're dropping out of the top four. Those three, for me, are cemented there. United, I think that's the team you have to go for. But United have a knack of winning games. They don't necessarily dominate or anything like that. The front three are starting to click. Bruno Fernandes has shown up and really stepped that midfield up a little bit. They still have defensive problems to me. They need a left back, or they need Shaw to be fit. I think they need another sort of deep line kind of midfielder, someone to sit behind Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. I don't think Fred and Matic cut it, but there aren't too many spaces on that United team that are trouble spaces, kind of like when you see Arsenal. As I said, the whole midfield is a problem. They're getting old at striker. Willian comes in. He's a good option, of course. Older, though, and eventually that'll have to hit. So they have to hit now. This team is set up so they have to hit now, and I just don't see it. By the time they get a good enough midfielders in and everything, I think, to challenge top four, Aubameyang and Willian are getting ready to leave, I think. Lacazette's future is up in the air. This is just a lot. I just don't see it. If I had to make a prediction, I would think that Arsenal, in 3 or 4 years' time, still haven't made a top four. Still fighting, for 5, 6, 7, 8. I think this is the new Arsenal. From perennial top four to perennial, 5 through 8. I just think that's it. They're going to need to do so much. They have so much going against them, Arsenal. And you don't really look at it. You look at Arsenal and you're like, good team. Could use some players here and there. But at the moment, in this climate, with, the team set up as they are, Chelsea are going to spend money. Liverpool are really good. Manchester City are really good and are going to spend money. Arsenal don't have the money to blow, and they don't have the squad to really challenge those top 3, 4 sides. And this is the climate that can really make or break a club. There are plenty of clubs around the world, in England, who are fading away. Everyone's obviously trying to, set themselves in a good position. Everyone wants to make sure that coming out of the pandemic, that going forward, that they're in a good spot. But Arsenal seem to almost be making a move to try and cement themselves in those top 5, 4 or 5 teams in a really weird time, and a time that I don't think they're ready for. I think they're jumping the gun a little bit. Willian is a good signing. Willian isn't one of those signings I would have made at Arsenal. I think Arsenal need to get younger. I think they need to get a little bit quicker in certain spots. As I said, I think the midfield needs a huge overhaul. If you can get some young players who are going to be good, and even if it takes 2 or 3 more years, in a time like this, maybe that's what you do. You get a little bit cheaper, and you're spending. You're not doing huge wages on older players. I would have just done the opposite. I would have signed I would have kept Aubameyang. I know Aubameyang's wages would have been high. Willian isn't. Those are just not wages I would have necessarily needed. You go out and spend a little bit of money on a player who's going to have some smaller wages, but someone who's going to grow into a really good player. Someone doesn't need to come in and, be forced into the team and such. It's a tough situation. It's definitely a tough situation. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments of Arsenal's situation. It's a tough one, but as I said, everything points to 5th through 8th for the next 3, 4, 5 years. That's just what everything points to. Obviously, things change, and it's a pandemic at the moment, and things are rough on everybody. But Arsenal especially, there's something around the club at the moment that just seems odd. So just let me know what you guys think down in the comments. But for now, guys, that's it. So peace.